got all the notes. Okay. I'm going to start reading them. This will be fun. This will be fun. They are long as fuck. Alright. This isn't limited to Japanese, but the fastest way to learn another language is to speak it out loud. Of course, I had trouble at first, like with grammar rules and the differences between Dakuyen and Han Dakuyen, but all that was trial and error. My older sister mastered Japanese before I did, and I owe a lot to my Japanese proficiency to her correcting my mistakes time and time again. Thank you very much for the introduction. I am Olga Belakor. I studied regenerative medicine for my postgraduate degree and mainly researched medical use for cloning technology. Came to Japan when I began university, so this will be my 9th year living here. My favorite Japanese author is Haruki Murakami, and my favorite Japanese food is natto rolls. Thank you for having me, and I hope to learn much under your guidance. Spoke clearly and fluently, then gave a deep bow. It was perfect. My grammar and intonation, as well as word usage and sense of humor, were flawless. None of the researchers I greeted before me, nor Dr. Terashima smiling beside me, had noticed anything odd about my Japanese greeting. In fact, they seemed to be relieved seeing there wouldn't be any communication issues with me moving forward. A new, hard-working, and honest researcher. It was clear to see I'd succeeded in planting that first impression to myself in their minds. But that first impression was a complete sham. I am far from a hard-working and honest researcher. Hell, Olga Belakor isn't even my real name. I never studied regenerative medicine, and I never took a single postgraduate course. There wasn't one single shred of truth in anything I told them. Sad Spy Sisters, a certain researcher's notes. I'll be escorting you from here. After greeting my new colleague, Dr. Terashima began showing me around the facilities. Dr. Terashima, full name Daishi Terashima. Although he's 61, he dyes his beard and long hair brown, but it didn't seem like he was trying too hard to make himself look younger. There was an interesting aura about him, as if that was his natural state of being. Now I wonder, is this person going to end up being Sachika's mother, or did this all happen after Sachika was born, I wonder? Actually, no, yeah, it'd have to, because that's when they started doing the clone research stuff, was after Sachika's death, so yeah, that'd have to be the case, because why would they do this when... Oh, well. He's the director of Masahiro Nanotechnology Institute, also known as MANI, and is a highly capable researcher who helms operations here. Despite his high social standing, he gave no impressions of being arrogant about his position. Showing a newcomer around the facilities was something usually done by someone of a lower rank, but Dr. Terashima insisted he do it himself. As you heard, it was specifically proven that talking to sexy women is good for your brain. We walked all around the MANI facility with Dr. Terashima taking charge. People ask me sometimes, why would you make your research facility in the middle of the ocean? Well, what kind of question is that? The answer is obvious, because it's cool. Uh-huh. Making facilities in the ocean because it's cool. Is that his idea of a joke? Or perhaps it's a method of completely shutting out intruders and preserving sensitive information. Whatever the case, I was at a loss on how to respond. And yet it didn't seem like the time to question him further, so I left it at that. Probably wasn't anything important anyway. The walls of Mani's underwater facilities are made of the archaic glass used in aquariums, as we walk side by side with the fish watching us. Even though the man I was with is 61 years old. It felt like we were on a date at the aquarium. I wonder if Dr. Terashima felt the same way. Maybe this facility is retired someday. I'll have it repurposed into a new kind of aquarium. Said out loud for feign ignorance. If this facility is retired, that would be when the research here achieves its end goal. I mean, the cloning research being conducted here would be implemented for everyday use. My mind was paralyzed by the magnitude of his flippancy. It's not because I'm too serious, and it's certainly not because I'm bothered by an old man's boastful talk. It's simply because it goes against my religious beliefs. This may be out of left field, but my country's religion strictly prohibits the development and use of cloning technology. What a specific religion, huh? Like, what a goddamn specific religion about, like, hey, don't follow science and clone don't follow the cloning research or the sciences behind it. Anything clone related, fuck it. Don't bother listening to it or such. You gotta destroy it. What a very specific religion. What else do you guys do? Cloning is blasphemy. Nothing more than an act of destruction against the way the world should be. Like this might be like some kind of like maybe, you know, I guess like like it's a whole don't play God type thing, I suppose. So like could fall under that category. So why would someone with my religious outlook join Mani as a researcher? Simple, really. Spy on them. Cast aside Mani's cloning technology and research into the shadows of history. Bury it so it never existed. It's why I created my background and was sent here to Mani completely undiscovered. ... Well, see you later. Let me know if you have any questions. Dr. Hiroshima waved his hand and disappeared down the hallway. Thank you. I lowered my head and stared at the ground, then slowly exhaled. With the tour complete, my work for the day as a researcher was complete. Alright. I decided to head toward my big sister's room as planned. My sister's been laying low on Mani as a researcher for a year now. Now I think about it, it's been a whole year since I've seen her. She apparently had her hands full with the project she's working on, and I didn't see her on the early meeting. I followed the mental map I memorized and headed to the dormitory area, and pressed the enter phone button in her room. Coming. I hear my sister's voice through the door. Her face appeared on the palm-sized monitor. Her glowing porcelain skin and amber eyes that seemed to draw in anyone who looked at them. She's perfect, just as I remember her. Olga, 1 sec, I'm opening the door. She called my fake name with her angelic voice and hopped out of the view of the monitor. I wonder if I'll learn their names. The door opened soon after. Big Sis. It's been a whole year since I've seen her in the flesh. She was really there. I had even dreamt of this day. I expressed the urge to call her by her real name and leapt at her like an Olympian to embrace her. I miss you so much. Both tumbled to the floor and I ended up sitting on top of her. She must have hit her head pretty hard, but she still smiled at me happily. It's been a while, Olga. Her smile seemed to have forced the tears out of me. Ugh. I tried holding it in, but I couldn't stop the pathetic whimper from leaking out. I shoved my face in my sister's chest in an attempt to hide it. Olga, what are you? I missed you. I truly, truly had. Whenever I faced hardships, I had always thought of my sister. Like during Spy Train, when I had eaten or drunk for 72 hours and I had been unable to lift a finger. Or when I had killed all the criminals in my motherland as part of assassination training. Or when I had to offer my body over and over again to men many times older than me who I had no feelings for. Damn. Prostitute. You must have been through so much. My sister shook my hair like she could see into my mind. And as if to make up for all the time I couldn't spend with her, I cried for nearly a whole hour. When I came to and lifted my head from her chest, she must have been tired from supporting my weight for an hour. I'll make us some tea. She smiled warmly and began brewing green tea. Thanks. As she handed me a cup of tea, she also gave me a piece of paper at the same time. There, in her perfect handwriting, was the following message in our native language. Don't have to worry about any cameras, but they may be listening in. We'll discuss that matter through written messages. Straight to work, huh? To be honest, there was a part of me that wanted to have more personal time with her, but I had spent nearly an hour crying on top of my sister. I couldn't really say it was too early to start talking business. Took the pen and notepad from her without resisting. Understood, but first, can you tell me about your progress so far? We kept up a casual conversation out loud, but she gave me details on the spy activities she had been doing for the past years. The information received beforehand regarding Mani's materialization of the clone technology was correct. I've succeeded in gathering data that could prove this. So the information our country's officials had received was accurate then. Not only had Mani committed the grave sin of clone development, but they were thinking of using them for military purposes. There's only one thing for us to do. I looked at my sister's eyes, mentally conveying that thought to her. She gave me a small nod without a word, then jolted down another sentence. As planned, we will massacre all the researchers here. Massacre. Seems like a heavy word, but what we're doing is a cleansing of the good for the good of the world. Service to God. There's no reason to feel any guilt. Okay. That was nice. Scientists tend to be an odd bunch. I hear this often, but Dr. Hiroshima sensory exceeds all expectations. He once exclaimed he had come up with the idea for his research and took off his lab coat and began writing mathematical equations on it. When he gets stuck on something, he'd sleep right then and there, even while others are working. I really don't understand this one, but he once gave a name to each of his fingers to start a play. It's only been a week since I was assigned at Monty, but I can't avoid Dr. Shima's bizarre activities even if I want to. It's beginning to stress me out. The other researchers and my sister just laugh it off and say I'll get used to it, but who knows if my undercover activities will last until then. Besides, I'm supposed to be here to acquire more information on the clone research being conducted here. Specifically, the information regarding materialization that's only been discussed among upper management. But all this was already completed by my sister before I even arrived at Mountie. As usual, my sister is perfect. Thanks, sir. There's only one job left for me to do. To consolidate Dr. Terashima. Must win his trust to find out if he's working on unannounced personal research projects. I'll also need to find out whether he's leaking information to any third parties. If we massacre the Mayan researchers and delete all the data here, our mission would be incomplete if the data has been leaked already. I must establish a relationship with Dr. Shima as soon as possible, for my country and for the world. Despite my great determination, it ended up being quite an easy task. My relationship with Dr. Shima progressed to the next level far quicker than anticipated. Everyone, including my sister, began as general researchers who recorded and observed the results of his experiments, but I was nominated by Dr. Shima himself. Want to be my personal assistant? Huh? Oh, don't take this the wrong way. I may not look it, but I like to keep my private and work affairs separate. Don't keep women by my side at work just because I'm into them. Well, if I was the type to do that, I wouldn't be inviting you like this right now. Is this sexual harassment? Aha, just a joke. Besides, you are very cute, Olga. In any case, we may be wondering why I asked you to be my personal assistant. It's simply because my previous assistant died in an unfortunate accident. So the position is now open. Huh? Died? No, that's not quite right. It would be more accurate to say he was killed. He was killed? Time seemed to stop upon hearing those dreadful words. But Dr. Tsurushima went on nonchalantly like he was discussing today's weather. Didn't I mention this before? Our research is constantly enveloped by great danger. Most of the clones that end up as failures tend to be extremely violent. You mean... Yes, my last assistant was killed by a failed clone. But I'm sure he was happy to go that way. What's that one phrase recounters say? When I die, I wish for nothing more than to die on the stage. Experiments are akin to a researcher's stage, if you ask me. Dr. Hiroshima is an odd man. I was embarrassed to think I'd defined him in such a way before. It's far more odd. He's a monster. Dr. Hiroshima's personal assistant. Sounds like nothing short of a nightmare. If I didn't have my mission as a spy, I'd kill myself right here. However, I'm capable of putting my mission before my own personal feelings. I've been trained for this. Allow me to take you up on your offer. Really? Great. I thought you'd be a perfect fit since the moment I first saw you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but judging by your muscle build, you have experience with martial arts, don't you? A little, when I was in college. Though, it was assassin's training, not martial arts. Thought so. Have an eye for those kinds of things. You know, when doing this sort of research, it's not far-fetched to think there could be assassination attempts by anti-close activist groups or something. Other than an assistant, I've been looking for a bodyguard, too. It's nice to be killing two birds with one stone, huh? He laughed out loud, then reached out for a handshake. Looking forward to working with you, Olga. Thank you. I hope I can serve you well. Suppressed my feelings, smiled kindly, and shook Dr. Terashima's hand. ... God damn. Excuse me. I was a bit nervous about the rigorous work awaiting me as his personal assistant. But the tasks Dr. Terashima assigned me generally weren't very difficult. Tasks like taking notes with the other researchers during experiments, putting a cup of coffee on Dr. Terashima's desk when he read documents after the experiments were complete. Besides all that, I was also his discussion partner, or more accurately, his sandbag for pointless prattling, to vaguely respond to his unpredictable conversations without getting exhausted. It's nothing more than being a step above that of a secretary. In fact, it was probably easier than secretarial duties. But this was all in terms of an average person, and I was accustomed to hard labor beyond the likes of which has never been seen in normal companies. I know far too well how harmful and evil clone technology is to the world. thought of spending my days as an assistant of the man who is at the forefront of it all makes me feel guilty to even breathe. I don't know how many times I apologized in my head for it. When I discussed or grumbled about this to my sister, in writing of course, she smiled and kindly accepted it. Don't worry, no one in our country will think any less of you. The fact that you feel guilty over it means you're capable of acknowledging right from wrong. The only time you should truly feel remorseful is when you no longer feel guilty about your work. Yes, thank you. More importantly, be careful. Fill my head questioningly. About what? I'm sure you've also wondered why Dr. Tsushima appointed you as his assistant. She was right. Although she claimed it was because the timing just happened to match up, the true intentions behind his words were to complete mystery to me. Certainly, covered our task perfectly, but I can't deny a chance of him knowing about our undercover operations. I'm sure you know this, but our time is limited. If they succeed in the implications of claim before you gain Dr. Tsushima's complete trust, you'll be forced to put our plan into action without confirming if Dr. Tsushima has secret information or if he leaked information himself. Must avoid this at all costs. I know that. I do. I know it all too well, but I want a little more time. I must win over Dr. Tsushima's trust. It means I'll have to push our relationship even further to be more special than that of the average researcher. Being his personal assistant isn't nearly enough. Special relationship. Must feel like he can tell me anything right now. The thought of me investigating him behind his back must be unfathomable. That sort of relationship which transcends the bonds of coworkers. But to put it more bluntly, a relationship between a man and a woman. That kind of relationship with Dr. Tsushima. As part of my spy training, I've slept with men who do nothing to satisfy my sexual taste, but Dr. Tsushima is in a completely different class altogether. Every cell in my body rejects the thought of sleeping with the good doctor. But that is what I must do. This is what I have been training for. I know this, and yet, despite my deliberations, there was just no time for me to make up my resolve. Shortly after my discussion with my sister, about a month after becoming Dr. Tsushima's assistant, it happened. As I poured coffee for him in the laboratory as usual, he said to me, "Do you enjoy intercourse, Olga?" Excuse me? I couldn't help my voice from cracking. The answer should have been obvious. No. I mean to say it had come out of nowhere. Up till then, Dr. Tsushima only read academic journals about clone research published by other laboratories. There were no hints of erotic topics sliding into the conversation. Where did that come from? What? It's not that uncommon of a question. You're 27, right? I'll be 26 this year. Then I doubt you haven't had an experience or that you have an aversion to such topics. And considering how you're involved in this line of work, I thought you'd be able to take the emotions out of it and talk about reproductive activities more than the average person. Almost sound logical, but I was not so sure about his reasoning. Don't know if I would compare the creation of life by experimentation to traditional reproductive activities. Well, I suggest you discard such notions straight away. Our end goal here is to artificially create life in the same way traditional reproductive can, after all. Yes, I understand that, but I couldn't help but end my sentence with a hint of denial. Yes, I understand that, but still, whether he noticed it or not, Dr. Tsushima repeated his question in the same tone of voice. Do you enjoy intercourse, Olga? I neither liked nor disliked it, but of course I would prefer to choose my own partner. I will mingle with a man who clearly and directly denies my religious outlook simply by existing. Not to mention he's more than double my age. I would honestly prefer not to have such relationships with him. Don't want to have intercourse. No way. But I know. I'm forced to understand. That was Dr. Tsushima's final confirmation. If I shook my head no, he would say something ambiguous and pretend he never brought it up. Didn't want to, and yet, I couldn't afford to give up that chance. I quietly stayed my breath. Then I lowered the tone of my voice just enough so my response didn't sound forced. There's a woman alive who will wish to do so as long as she likes. I like you, Olga. It was such a tit-for-tat sort of conversation I had almost laughed out loud. Nothing more than some empty words disguised to steer the conversation. Empty, shallow words from a man who used to plain women. But I didn't mind. In that direction lay the future I've been striving for. So I placed my hand on Dr. Tsushima's neck and pressed my lips against his chest. I used all my willpower to suppress the violent protest from every cell in my body. Dirty! There's nothing to write home about. I was able to accept someone like Dr. Tsushima just as I was trained, despite my very being repulsed by the thought. Ever since we first had physical relations, it has become part of our daily routine. In other words, we had become lovers. More so, my time spent with Dr. Terashima had increased significantly. Some predictable comments and actions were exasperating and, as usual, but it seemed he had begun trusting me, or perhaps he was never one to value privacy to begin with. Excuse me. Despite my presence in the room, he carelessly typed his PC password and began working while I still lay on the bed. I easily memorized his password by observing his finger strokes. The day I typed out the very password with my own hands came soon after. As well after our so-called amorous affairs that day, we were laying in bed when Dr. Terashima's phone vibrated. It's from your sister. My sister? Burma Brown gave a questioning expression, but I had known beforehand she would be contacting him. It's all part of the plan we had laid out. Dr. Terashima tilted his head and answered the phone. What is it? My sister's voice could be heard from the speaker. Sir, we've been observing the subject as you ordered, but the anticipated response has occurred earlier than expected. Alright, I'll be right over. Dr. Terashima suddenly hung up. Fooled by my sister's lie, he quickly got dressed. You know the drill. Make sure no one sees you when you leave the room. I will. He threw his lab coat on and exited the room, leaving me sitting there naked. After confirming the sound of the door closing, I hit the desktop computer he always uses and typed in the password that I had memorized. Proceeded to the portable HDD from my clothes on the floor and transfer the data from Dr. Terashima's PC. Then I watched the progress bar slowly fill with sky blue. The bar filled slower than I expected, and I could feel myself beginning to sweat. Didn't have much time. My sister's light would quickly be exposed. Anticipated results hadn't occurred in the experiment at all. Dr. Terashima denounced her, and she would apologize for a mistake. As soon as she did, Dr. Terashima would have no reason to stay there a moment longer. My sister couldn't afford to keep him there, because it would only raise suspicions then. At 10 minutes at most. Judging by the minute hand on the wall clock and the current position of the status bar, it's clear I wouldn't have enough time to copy everything at once. But who knows when I get another chance? Even though things had gone smoothly until that point, there's no guarantee I'd be able to keep up this pace. It's also highly likely that he'd catch on and increase his security due to this single incident. But what if Dr. Terashima didn't come back? It's possible my sister would find some way to extend the amount of time he stayed there. Those optimist thoughts threatened to take over, but I quickly suppressed such wishful thinking. Decided to transfer 91% of the data for Dr. Terashima's computer. My timeline was up. Oh, you haven't even put your clothes on yet? No, I just felt sleepy. ... Of all data transferred to Dr. Terashima's PC, there was nothing he kept hidden from the other researchers. Nor did I find proof that he leaked any of the information he knew of. As usual, my sister communicated with me via handwriting notes. Dr. Terashima was more likely clean. It's highly unlikely there was anything in the 10% I didn't download that would disprove that notion. I already confirmed his PC to be the only place where he could hide such sensitive data. During our written meeting, my sister and I decided not to make any more moves to steal Dr. Terashima's data. If we happened upon an opportunity to steal the remaining 10% of data without any risk, we would of course take it, but we wouldn't do anything to make him suspect us. It's important to know when to hold back. 1 month, exactly 1 month from today, we will put our plan into action. Till then, I want you to stay by Dr. Terashima's side. Just as my sister told me, I continued my spy activities without taking any risk. Followed Dr. Terashima around as his assistant, gave myself to him when he desired me, and initially when I sensed he wanted me. Then on the night 2 weeks after I had taken his data, Dr. Terashima slept while sleeping with me. That was highly uncommon. Usually he wouldn't as so much as yawn until I left the room, but perhaps all those sleepless nights had caught up to him. That could be my chance to get the remaining 10%. Thought crossed my mind, but crossing that rickety bridge then went against everything I had learned during my spy training. So I had to leave for that day. Snapped my buttons closed and prepared to go back to my own room. Then I heard a voice behind me. We're almost at the truth. I turned around faster than my brain could process the words. Dr. Terashima was sighing in his sleep. Not a bad comment. He must have been conducting research even in his sleep, and as he nearly reached the truth in his pursuit for knowledge, the words must have slipped out. Wait. What the hell was I saying? Had I giggled? Had I thought he was cute? No. I was swept up by the warm material nature within me as a repulsing shudder was down my spine. This wasn't some sort of comic for teens. Was I truly gaining feelings for him just because he had a physical relationship? I will kill him. I have to. Told myself that in my mind as I glanced at Dr. Tereshima's sleeping face. The words my sister once told me then came to mind. The only time you should truly feel remorseful is when you no longer feel guilty about your work. Next evening, my sister was caught up in a failed experiment and died. Lovely! Our father runs a secret company that conducts assassinations and espionage operations on a national level. Exactly 2 years ago, my father's company had received a request for an investigation and assassination at Mani. By that time, my sister and I had already worked at our father's company as spies. My father put his hand on my shoulder. He wanted me to go into Mani a year before my sister and conduct an undercover investigation. My father picked me over my sister. Didn't make any sense. I was by no means a failure, but when comparing me to my sister, she was clearly more capable. Why me and not her? Did my father base his decision on some metric only he knew, or did he have some other mission in mind for my sister? Still didn't know his reasoning to this day, but nonetheless, he had appointed me to go undercover at Mani instead of my sister. Didn't feel like I had beaten her, but I did learn something akin to superiority from it. Till that day, even now, I have a complex towards my sister. No matter what the task, she always completed them more efficiently than me. She was good at the things I'm not, and she was even better at things I'm good at. But on that day 2 years ago, my had father picked me over her. My had father? Had should not be in there, because that just sounds... Okay, there's no excuse for this one. My had father picked me over her. Had should be gone from that sentence. Upon hearing those words, my sister said it was too early for me and that she was better suited for the task. It was unusual. No, it was perhaps the first time she ever opposed my father like that. Maybe she was too proud to let me surpass her, or maybe she was worried for me. Eventually, my father gave in to their desperate efforts to persuade him and sent her into Mani instead. And now here we are. The original plan was for me to infiltrate Mani before my sister. I was supposed to die instead of her. ... When I found out about my sister's death, I was stuck at Dr. Tereshima's side as personal assistant and writing notes in my binder about an experiment. The door behind me suddenly opened and a researcher from my sister's department entered. With a dreadful pale face, he informed us of my sister's death. It happened during the development of a new type of solution used for clone creation. A type of chemical dangerously incompatible with the solution and not allowed in the lab was somehow mixed into the experiment materials, causing an explosion. Death by explosion. I don't remember much after hearing those words. Next thing I knew, I woke up in the infirmary bed. It appeared I had lost consciousness. What I saw before me wasn't an unfamiliar ceiling, but Dr. Tashima's face peering down at me. Hey there, did you sleep well? I was so close to punching him. There was something else I needed to do first. I woke up, making by and head towards the sliding infirmary door. Wait, where are you going? I need to make sure. Of what? If my sister's really died. Whether it was real or just a dream. Ha. See the cutest thing sometimes, Olga. I'm sure your brain remembers it well. Your sister did indeed die. She was caught in an explosion and blew to smithereens. I know. Whether I liked it or not, that memory before I lost consciousness was burned into my memory. Until I see it with my own eyes. More importantly, Olga, would you mind giving me your sister? Excuse me? I'd like to know if it's okay to bring back your sister as a clone. I'm sure you want to see her again, and I'd like to speak to her once more to avoid any future accidents. If I have my sister as a clone? The moment Dr. Chisholm's word registered in my head, my vision instantly went white. Before I knew it, my thumbs were both firmly planted against his Adam's apple. Except that didn't actually happen. In fact, quite the opposite. Cloning is a sin. Cloning technology is the work of the devil made to obstruct the world and system God has created. And yet this option Dr. Terashima presented. I sensed a sort of warmth, like a ray of sunshine from his option to revive my sister as a clone. See my sister again. Dr. Terashima's suggestion was the future I sought for. But cloning is a sin. I know this better than anyone. My logical thought was on the verge of taking over my brain. But then, it's not possible, is it? To transfer one's personality and memories to a clone, the subject must already have an umbilical brain unit, also known as an X key, implanted into his stomachs. It's possible to create a clone with the owner's personality and memories without it. So since my sister never had an X key embedded in her, even if she was brought back to life, she'd be an imposter who would only be similar in appearance. That wasn't my sister I want to see. I also meant Dr. Terashima will be able to talk to her about preventing future accidents either. My eyes looked lifeless as I explained my logic, and Dr. Tsushima tilted as if he were genuinely confused. Huh? Your sister never told you. She had an X key implanted. What? I forgot when it was. We didn't have enough subjects to gather significant data for the experiment, so I looked for volunteers from the lab. As I was saying, there was no danger involved, and if anyone's greedy enough to desire eternal life, could use some more subjects for the experiment. And my sister agreed. She was the first one to volunteer. She wanted to be a test subject for the cloning experiment. It can't be. My sister should have known. Cloning is a sin. Cloning technology came straight from hell, made to obstruct the world God created. Could my sister volunteer to partake in such an experiment when she shared the same religious views as me? Maybe she has some sort of plan. Maybe she volunteered as a test subject to progress her espionage efforts. If that's true, it wouldn't make sense for her to not fill me in afterwards. There's no secrets between my sister and I. Are there? I don't know why you seem so shocked, but how about it? I'd like to get your permission before cloning your sister if possible. Okay, got it. Then let's get to it right away. Well, I didn't say anything. Then did you just do that subconsciously? I thought I saw you nod deeply just now. Didn't bother trying to confirm whether Dr. Tereshima's words were true or not. I couldn't. Whether I nod or not, I knew I wished for nothing more than to see my sister again. Even if that meant denying everything our religion stood for. My desire to see my sister far outweighed my faith. ... The extend machine's vat opened and I was reunited with my clone sister. Felt a mixture of intense deja vu, guilt, and joy for my sister's revival. The conflicting, chaotic whirl of emotions fell heavily in the back of my head. Judging by her appearance and physique, my sister soaking in the solution seemed to be about 6 years old. This wasn't some sort of error, but a feature of the extend machine. Human clones made with the extend machine retained their knowledge and experiences as they were reborn in the child's body. Well, how's it feel to see your family member reborn? Dr. Shima turned to face me. There was a look of pride on his face as if he just gave a little present to his lover. That would normally make me want to kill him, but this time I didn't feel that way in the slightest. My sister's faint voice could be heard. Her eyes opened halfway and she slowly sat up. She seemed to be having trouble comprehending what was going on. She turned her head to look all around. Then her eyes opened wide as she looked up at Dr. Terashima and me. Whether it was the solution or tears, I didn't know, but her watery eyes met mine. Ugh. She let out a little sob. Perhaps she was relieved to find out she didn't die, or she was happy to be reunited with me. Or maybe she was in despair knowing she was revived as a clone. Whatever it was, it appeared she couldn't prevent the overwhelming emotions from leaking out. Hearing her like this made me cry too. I'm so glad. My voice was hardly understandable. I thought I'd never see her again. I thought it filled me with so much despair. Dr. Terashima seemed to sense my emotional state and placed his hand on my left shoulder. As if that was a signal, I embraced my sister, not minding that my lab coat got wet. Ow. I'm sorry. Despite my verbal apologies, I didn't let up on my tight embrace around her. My body and mind were so in sync, there was no room for my brain to give any orders in between. After some rudimentary examinations, Dr. Terashima accepted my request to let me be alone with my sister in my room. This time I brewed tea for my sister and brought it to the table as she waited, just as she had always done for me. Thanks. She took the teacup with both hands, taking a sip. Her nose was bright red and tears rolled down her cheeks again. So glad I was able to see you again. Me too. Didn't detect any negative emotions in her face from being revived as a clone. She may be just hiding it from me, but she was at least not showing it outwardly. It wasn't just my sister. I didn't seem to harbor any such emotions either. I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a shred of guilt, but the joy of seeing my sister again far outweighed that. That's a lot of reading. Neither of us were even composed enough to hug again, so we began sobbing once more with the table between us. I don't know how long we went on like that. We stopped crying around the same time. We probably could have kept crying if we wanted to, but we had responsibilities to uphold. There was something we had confirmed. Why did my sister die? Was it really an accident that occurred by chance? My sister went through a simple examination before going through my room, but I told her the cause of the accident was unknown. But that could be a lie. My sister wasn't able to tell the truth for whatever reason. With that in mind, I wrote her note as usual and asked her, "Do you really not know anything about the accident?" "Why are you asking me in a note?" "What? Is your throat dry from all the crying?" "Thought I didn't seem like it." What was this person saying? A shiver went down my spine from the indication of the situation I had dread most. I prayed it was nothing more than a hunch. But unfortunately, I was usually right about these things. After being revived at school, my sister's memory seemed to have been impaired. The true reasons she came to mind, along with the memories of her homeland, were completely wiped out. Instead, she now thought the memories she falsified of her espionage were real. Truth had been overwritten by lies, but it couldn't be. My heart full of despair, I threw her question from various angles just to confirm. I hoped it was just misunderstanding on my part. I wish my sister hadn't changed, but there was no mistake. The sister I got back was no longer the sister I knew. Reports regarding my spy activities are sent to my country via coded emails. First glance, they look like emails updating my family, not an array of mysterious numbers. The key phrases are linked to various spy activities. For example, saying "I'm homesick" means the mission requires urgency, and "Dr. Tsushima is kind to me" means Dr. Tsushima is highly likely to be guilty. I've taken my time right now to seemingly instant email with the following message. It's beginning to seem highly likely that Dr. Terashima is hiding secret information. I'm postponing the execution of the plan. Do not report about my sister's death or her revival as a clone. If I did, I would be forced to kill my 6-year-old older sister. Should I kill my clone sister? How do I prescribe her from now on? How do I perceive her from now on? Do I even consider her the same person she was before? I don't have the answers to those questions right now. To give myself more time to find the answers, I've lied about the possibility of Dr. Terashima hiding information. All I'm doing is stalling. Simply struggling in vain. All I want is more time to think.